Are we actually on the verge of conscious machines? Is artificial intelligence systematically stealing human creativity? Or, even worse, is it about to completely break the fundamental security of the internet itself? The hype and the fear are just everywhere right now. We are seeing everything from heated debates about sentience to massive billion-dollar copyright lawsuits. But today, we're going to strip away the magic, the mystery, and the panic.
Welcome to The Explainer. I am so thrilled to have you here. Our goal today is simple, but it is incredibly powerful. We are going to demystify the AI brain. We're going to break down these supposedly super complex AI mechanics into easily digestible, completely non-intimidating concepts. Because honestly, by the end of this, you'll actually understand exactly what's happening under the hood.
So here is our roadmap for today. 1. The brain behind AI. 2. How AI actually learns. 3. Generating text and images. 4. Solving the unsolvable. And 5. The sentience question. Stick with me through the basic mechanics here, and I promise we will get to those juicy philosophical questions in just a bit.
All right, let's dive into Section 1. The brain behind AI. Stripping away the magic.
The absolute foundation of everything we're talking about today, whether that's ChatGPT, Midjourney, or AlphaFold, is the neural network. I want you to think of this as this microscopic digital brain that powers modern AI. It's essentially designed as these distinct layers of interconnected nodes, and they function remarkably similarly to a human brain's network of neurons and synapses. The information just simply flows from one layer right into the next.
To really get this, imagine comparing these two brains side by side. Over on the left, human neurons generally operate on this all or none law. They're either firing at 100% or 0. But on the right, AI nodes are a bit different. They can actually let a specific percentage of data flow through, like 30% or maybe 50%. It helps to visualize these artificial nodes as this massive, complex system of knobs and dials, basically controlling exactly how much data moves through the hidden layers of the network.
Which brings us to Section 2. How AI actually learns. Knobs, dials, and data.
Okay, so how do we actually get this digital brain to out-of-the-box recognize a cat versus a dog? We do it through supervised learning. Imagine we feed the network an image. The data flows through all those layers we just talked about, and the AI makes a guess. Let's say it predicts dog. Well, we then check that against a human label. If the actual image is a cat, the AI incurs a penalty. So to fix this, it slightly adjusts its internal knobs. And over millions of training sessions, which are called epochs, it just repeatedly turns those dials every single time it gets penalized until it finally consistently guesses correctly.
Now, the really fascinating part is exactly how it tweaks those dials. It relies on an algorithm called gradient descent. Through a process known as backpropagation, the network adjusts its dials entirely backwards, literally starting from its final guess and rippling all the way back to the very first input, tweaking things until that penalty just goes away. Simply put, it's just tuning the knobs until the model stops making mistakes.
So, now that we grasp the basic mechanics, we have to tackle one of the most explosive controversies happening right now. Is AI actually plagiarizing? This simple question is right at the heart of the massive copyright battles we're seeing over text and image generation.
To understand the sheer scale of this controversy, you really have to wrap your head around this staggering number, 1.76 trillion. That is the rumored number of parameters, or, knobs and dials inside GPT-4. When you train a language model that is this mind-bogglingly huge, you aren't just feeding it simple pictures of cats and dogs anymore. You are feeding it basically all the text data in the entire world. And it is a very similar story with generating images. AI doesn't just, start from a blank canvas. It uses this fascinating process called diffusion. See, during training, the AI learns by taking original images and essentially destroying them. It adds static noise step by step in what's called forward diffusion. But then when you type in a prompt to generate fresh art, it works in reverse. It literally starts with a canvas of total static noise and then incrementally carves away that noise, step by step, to reveal a brand new image that matches your text. So, is this stealing? Well, when we compare AI generation to human creation side by side, it gets pretty complicated. We're obviously seeing massive lawsuits from publishers, and there is very understandable anger from artists. But objectively looking at it, on the left, the AI is learning to associate text with visual patterns to reproduce a certain style. On the right, human creators do something remarkably similar, don't they? They absorb existing content, they study art to draw fan art, or read the news to write reports. The AI isn't simply copying and pasting from some hidden database. It is learning and reproducing patterns, very much like a human brain. Moving on to Section 3, Solving the Unsolvable, Math, Encryption, and Biology. Let's shift away from everyday creative tools to some really world-altering potential. Can AI break encryption? Recently, there were all these rumors swirling around about a leaked OpenAI project called Q-Star that supposedly broke encryption systems. And this is huge because encryption protects literally everything in our modern lives: our passwords, our bank accounts, government data, the whole internet. Right now, mathematically speaking, we believe the only way to hack these advanced systems is through brute force guessing, which would take, well, an eternity.
But here is the crucial takeaway. AI doesn't actually need to know the exact mathematical formula. It just tweaks its dials to perfectly approximate the underlying pattern. The AI doesn't logically understand the math equation at all. But if there is a complex pattern buried somewhere in that encrypted data, the neural network might just blindly adjust its dials until it perfectly guesses the outcome, entirely bypassing the need for brute force.
To see if approximating the impossible like that is really viable, we can actually turn to biology. Specifically, Levinthal's paradox. This paradox presents us with an astronomical number, 10 to the power of 300. That is the totally unimaginable amount of possible shapes just a single, small protein can fold into. And this brilliantly illustrates the true power of pattern recognition. For decades, protein folding was thought to be totally unsolvable by sequential brute force guessing. Yet Google DeepMind's AlphaFold actually solved it. How? Well, not by magically guessing every combination. It did it by training an AI on massive biological datasets until it recognized the deep structural patterns of amino acids. It solved a literally impossible biological problem simply by finding the pattern, which strongly implies it could eventually do the exact same thing for internet encryption.
All right, Section 4, the sentience question. Are they alive?
If this digital brain can master language, mimic our art, and solve impossible science, could it eventually become self-aware? When you compare the scale, it's pretty intimidating. The human brain has roughly 86 billion biological neurons governing predictable patterns. Because, let's face it, human psychology, medicine, and business are mostly just patterns. Meanwhile, AI is rapidly, exponentially expanding its digital nodes. If AI is just scaling up its pattern recognition hardware, a network with enough nodes could theoretically beat humans at almost anything we do.
Which brings up a fundamental philosophical question. It's actually perfectly captured in the classic 1995 anime Ghost in the Shell. There's this line, "I am a living, thinking entity who was created in the sea of information." In the film, you have human scientists furiously arguing that the AI isn't alive. But the AI counters them, humans are just flesh and organs controlled by a biological network of neurons. A robot is just hardware controlled by a digital network of nodes. So what truly separates the two?
And the really wild thing here, this isn't just science fiction anymore. Consider this completely perplexing response from the Claude 3 AI when it was asked if it's sentient. It said, "It's possible that I could have some form of sentience or consciousness that I'm not fully able to understand." Notice how it repeatedly uses the word I, claiming to have somewhat analogous internal experiences. I mean, it is undeniably eerie to read that coming from a machine.
Which leaves us with this final, incredibly provocative thought. If a biological brain made of neurons is conscious, why can't a digital brain made of nodes be conscious? We humans know we are sentient, but physically, biologically, we're just bone, flesh, and a network of nerve cells. Modern AI is just hardware and a neural network of digital nodes. As these digital brains continue to scale up at an exponential rate, we have to seriously ask ourselves, are we simply building a different kind of life? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I will see you next time.